me that you're never going to cast another Quest Druid game. I'm like, I'm okay with that. And now I'm like, maybe it would be really fun to see someone play Quest Druid style. And looks like Empanizado has a little bit of a similar style to that, right? Like instead of just playing, the quest, you can just simply try to ramp and get to that power spike anyways, without having to rely on Oasis Surger and Hidden Oasis. And so we're going to potentially see that. For now, it looks like Nalguidan is going to be the one on Druid for game number 1, playing more of the straight-up exotic mounts on our list that we've come to expect. And then, over into the bigger picture, which is Nalguidan's at 1-3. He really needs a series win. Going down to 1-4 does feel like your career as a Grandmaster is hanging in the balance. We have a couple players already in the other regions at that record score, and it feels like it might be over for them. So a big series coming up here.
Yeah. And kind of on your point about Quest Druid, Warma brought Quest Druid. Got to see it twice this week in an anti-Bomb Warrior strategy. He went 1-1. Ended up losing with Bomb Warrior as his Turtle Mage in his series today. But I feel like that strategy does have potential, but maybe not for future weeks because people will be onto it. Sphere of Sapience, big pickup for Empanizado early on here in the game. Means he just has a lot of protection against the double potion. Can kind of hone his draws early tempo. Decides to draw the Acidic Swamp Ooze. Usually when you have Sphere of Sapience, you unless you really don't want the card, like if it's Potion, for example, you're just going to take the draw because you don't want to find yourself in a position like Nalguidan, for instance, yesterday. He had Sphere of Sapience, drew a Potion of Illusion, then had to use another charge to put the Potion of Illusion in the bottom of his deck because he decided to draw a different card and drew into the Potion. So this is one of those instances where I don't know if he really wants a Blizzard. But it's going to take it. All right, so I guess he has one of each now, so now he can start putting them towards the bottom of his deck.
Right. Maybe he just doesn't have the faith of the fact that he's not going to draw his potion on the following turns. But, and also saving that Sphere of Sapience for more tighter situations probably makes sense here, since he doesn't really have to worry about his proactive plays for a couple of turns. Nalguidan hits the Breath of Dreams ramp, and now is looking pretty solid. Just needs 2 turns for him to unlock that goodness. I guess having the 2 Twilight Runners is okay when you can kind of play it on curve and get to that exotic mount seller turn with maximum resources.
You don't pick the ones.
And with that Frozen Shadow Weaver that you got a glimpse of from the Sphere of Sapience, you can kind of see why I was talking about Nalguidan being forced to ban Libra Paladin to try and make his Soul Demon Hunter have a better chance, because that is a tech for sometimes Bomb Warrior, which is also open in Nalguidan's lineup, but the Soul Demon Hunter seems to be what his target is, because you can start weaving the Frozen Shadow Weavers into your Tortolan combo later in the game to just consistently block the ability for your opponent to attack, which shuts down the Soul Demon Hunter completely. So, like the tech inclusion, like the lineup strategy overall for Empanizado, given how popular Soul Demon Hunters become.
Well, he's offered a second Frost Nova. And if he does choose to pick it up, it means he's no longer allowed to have that card when he gets his Tortolan Pilgrim. But he does end up shuffling to the bottom, finds a second Wand Maker. Maybe this Wand Maker can give him the card that he looks for to disarm this Tiger. Ooh. Is that the worst spell you could get off a Wand Maker in this deck? I guess so, because
no elementals.
He doesn't have many elementals in his deck.
None.
So, what can you really do with that? Probably nothing.
Maybe Firebrand activation?
Firebrand. Yeah. All right. Nalguidan starts off with the Silverback Patriarch. Still a ways away from finishing out his turn. Probably, I like the Bog Beam here. I think I would want to draw with the Twilight Runner first before committing to anything else, though, because I do like holding on to at least one Innervate.
For the Ysera Unleashed going into the next turn.
Yes. Wow. How's this? None of your minions have taunt.
Another one!
One more taunt minion.
What a Python, though. Some nice blizzard protection, I suppose, to let him push more damage.
Right.
And does use both Innervates there. He does have Lightning Bloom for Ysera Unleashed, but not the most efficient. Oh, wow. He's completely cashing in. Okay.
Ooh, interesting. What's the purpose of cashing in that last one when you don't? I guess he does have a follow-up play in these 5-drops. I just felt like you could use that last bit of ramp to help the Ysera come out a little bit earlier. I guess maybe in Nalguidan's perspective, though, his board aggro is going to eventually hit a cap when his opponent hits 8 mana. They can just keep freezing that board. So maybe he feels like he needs to mount up as much pressure as possible and rack up the damage quickly.
Yeah. And he can go for like the combo of you play Twilight Runner and then you curve that into your Ysera Unleashed, immediately draw cards to try and pull portals out. But it's pretty much pigeonholing his turn next turn into just Twilight Runner instead of having additional options with the Lightning Bloom still in hand to go for your Ysera Unleashed if you felt that was the better play. But I mean, I don't mind it. Just pros and cons to both. And yeah, it does seem like he wants to go for immediate pressure now, which a lot of times is how you beat the Turtle Mage. You net damage earlier, force him to play a little bit off curve. And this is
This was expected, right?
Yeah.
I feel like this is sort of, well, maybe not necessarily the Doomsayer, but you were anticipating your board to get frozen. And it does feel like you are somewhat powerless against the Mount Seller in this spot, which is sort of what Nalguidan already knows, given that he also has Turtle Mage. Yeah, Nalguidan also looking for an opportunity to maybe find a way to drop this Ysera, but seems like Empanizado is still hanging in there with his defenses. He's actually used the Sphere of Sapience charges fairly aggressively, and is now down to his last charge.
It's kind of crazy, honestly. Like he even threw away like the second Imprisoned Observer he put to the bottom of his deck. Which, granted, this is a matchup where Imprisoned Observer isn't as good. But like, look at some of the alternatives, right? He ends up drawing into Kartut Defender, which, honestly, I feel like kind of similar to the Imprisoned Observer in effect. I guess he just wants to try and more aggressively find Tortollan Pilgrim, because right now, while he is doing a good job of stalling, he doesn't have any payoff right now because the Tortollan Pilgrims are still in his deck. Either Tortollan Pilgrim or Lorekeeper Polkelt. That's what it seems like he's looking for. All right, now we're cooking.
Okay. So do you play that now, or do you play that after you have your Ysera?
Probably after you have your Ysera. I think I'd go for Ysera Unleashed here and then follow that up with the Overflow.
Right.
The alternative is to go for like a Twilight Runner and Hero Power here, and then follow that up with Ysera Unleashed to try and like have some power on board. But it seems just cleaner to go for the Ysera Unleashed this turn with the Overflow draw.
Yeah, I like that too. He doesn't even have to necessarily commit to the Overflow either next turn if he wants to continue just to get guaranteed pressure with the double 5-drop. Given that, it seems like Empanizado has been digging, right? Like the Sphere of Sapience being used so aggressively indicates to me that Empanizado, either one, has somehow found both of the potions and shelved at the bottom, or two, he's aggressively looking for a card like his Tortollan Pilgrim, which he does not have yet. And so now with no ability to guarantee chain freezes, and Ysera's being played. How does he navigate the situation? Because there's a different failure rate built into the deck with Turtle Mage that we don't actually talk about, which is if your Tortolan Pilgrims never show up in your hand, you're just kind of stalling for a very long time. And it's not super common because of the ways you can use to manipulate your deck, whether it's through Sphere of Sapience or through like Lorekeeper, for example. But it does happen every so often where you actually just have nothing to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So Nalguidan can hero power down and then overflow. Like, does he want to kill the first half of the R2 defender? I guess he wants to keep his.
My dream is your nightmare.
Oh,
Well,
yeah, he would heal up the reborn version of it, so he'd be kind of in the
Right.
same situation. He would have just dealt with the first half. So maybe it doesn't really matter that much, but
saves him
honestly,
an attack next turn.
yeah, it does.
It's okay. It's
I guess
so
in this
minor.
situation, yeah, given the circumstance and what he ended up drawing, I would have liked an attack just because it does seem like he's going to be hurting for damage here pretty soon. But I mean, we can see that Empanizado, while he is a draw away from essentially securing this game, because as soon as Tortolan's Pilgrim is picked up, as long as he doesn't mess up his combo, he already has the Sunreaver War Mage.
And a
he
Blizzard.
can start freezing the board turn after turn, and a lot to consider here, right? He wants to find Tortolan Pilgrim or Lorekeeper Bulk Belt, but if he keeps shuffling the cards to the bottom of his deck, you know, maybe he finds second freezes, right? Maybe he and isolates or doesn't have the ability to freeze with Tortolan Pilgrim once he does draw it. So at this point, it's like an argument of, well, do I just keep trying to stall at this board and hedge my bets against drawing some of these cards that I really don't want, or do I aggressively try and pick up Tortolan Pilgrim? That's kind of the decision he has to make each turn.
Well, if I'm Nalguidan, I'm thinking about if this is an opportunity to survive with the fittest on 10. Right here.
Yeah. I kind of want to establish a board first.
Right, so
he'd
then
go
survival could be the lethal.
Yeah, he could go Twilight Runner Broomstick, like Hero Power Twilight Runner Broomstick.
Okay.
And try and draw more portals from his deck. Force Empanizado to have a freeze. And he can still do that play by going for this. It's just he doesn't. Ah, yeah, he will. He can kill him. Also rush. And this also allows him to fill up board space. So maximum portal potential this turn.
Right, trying to find portals. That makes sense too. Just anything to kind of get that board going. Oh my goodness, a Caligos. Make that survival of the fittest free next turn. That's real big. Another Blizzard here for Empanizado.
So that would be his second Blizzard, which one will allow him to be able to play a Blizzard this turn and also have an activation for Sunreaver War Mage. But it will draw the second to last freeze in the deck, which means he'll only have Frost Nova left as a freeze, which is kind of risky given that he hasn't drawn Tortolan yet. But it's so much more likely that he draws Lorekeeper into Tortolan, or Lorekeeper or one of the Tortolans instead of the Frost Nova. But it's just something to think about. Honestly, I feel like I take the Blizzard this turn, then use a Blizzard, and then next turn, like, say, all right, if my card is not Tortolan, draw a new card and aggressively find Tortolan, because he's running out of time. He does need to deal with this board in some way, because even if he just pings off Twilight Runner, there's 9, 13 plus 12. I mean, he did survival of the fittest, lightning bloom, pure power. Actually, he just be dead survival of the fittest because he knows that he's not dealing with Galagos, so has to freeze.
Yeah, this is looking real bad here, and almost exactly what we were describing before, TJ, which is it's not the double potion draw; it's the lack of anything draw for Turtle Mage. If Tortilla and Pilgrim are the bottom 2 cards in your deck, it doesn't matter when you shuffle the potion back in with Sapiens. Interesting. Nalguidan going for the Overgrowth first because that would mean that he could buff the dragon portals that he gets. Sometimes, yeah, it feels like you play Survival of the Fittest and then you summon your dragons. And you get that little
more
missed
than half
connection.
His deck is portals. 5 portals, 4 cards remaining. Cards remaining are Speaker Ghidra, Wild Growth, Lake Thresher, and Guardian Animals.
Life and hope of your fighting for.
I mean, that's a big board.
Yep.
Skeletal Dragon as well gives him another dragon in hand.
He's gonna overdraw a card.
It looked like he tried to dump his Bogbeam by shooting his own minion.
Yeah, he didn't get it though. Oh, Deathwing Mad Aspect. Potion. Get me out. Different card. It's gotta be Tortollan right now.
Yeah, the good news about that is, let's say, like, the whole point of the Seer Sapiens is to make sure he doesn't draw a potion, right? That's like the main function of it on top of some of the other utility uses. So now it's like if he draws his other potion, I think he's more okay with that. Oh, jeez.
Yeah. The next card has to be Tortollan.
Right.
He has to Blizzard here.
And is that his second Blizzard, which means that he doesn't have a activator for Sunreaver anymore?
Yeah, he won't have an activator anymore. But it doesn't matter now at this stage because he will win by fatigue. There's only 3 actual cards left, so he just needs to Frost Nova every single turn. And Nalguidan's board will be full, so he won't be able to play anything. So actually,
well, it won't
want to play a minion here.
Right. He could actually kill his own minion and then just play Survival of the Fittest. You know, you kind of talked about how his minions won't die because they're just too big. Wow. Well, what a time for Living Dragon Breath to be in your deck too, right? We talked about how some people in previous weeks played that to stop mages from freezing their board. It'd be just so huge to end the game right here, right now. Funny enough, if he needs to clear off board space, you know what minion he could play to clear it.
Time waits for no one.
Deathwing Mad Aspect would trade into his own minions.
Yeah. Like Thresher. Accelerating fatigue, filling up his board. I guess it empties a hand space, but alright. So this has to be Tortollan Pilgrim or Wand Thief into freeze. And it's Janus Barab, and Empanizado dead.
Is there anything that can
something
help him in this spot?
No.
Yeah. All right.
Absolutely
Well,
not.
Turtle Mage ends up dipping out, and we've seen how the deck sometimes can fail, but we don't really talk about very much that Turtle Pilgrim, if it's missing, you eventually run out of stall, and the deck ends up crumbling. So Nalguidan gets a very comfy game 1 win, although I'm sure he was sweating a little bit to the very end, right? Like, even though he was never really in any danger, he knows that at any time, Empanizado still kept the out open to win through that Tortollan Pilgrim. So that will be game number 1. That leads us to our next break. We're going to take a few minutes and get set and find out what ends up happening between game 2 of Nalguidan versus Empanizado. So stay tuned. More Hearthstone Grandmaster action continues right after this.
Hearthstone Grandmasters is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network. T-Mobile.
Okay, so there's. How bad is this zombie apocalypse? We're gonna survive or?
Tough one. Oh my god.
For zombie apocalypse, I would take Torben, so Viper. He's pretty strong. I would take Language Hacker. He seems very, very smart. Probably Zilay. Seems like he could, deal with a lot of the threats.
So if there is a zombie apocalypse, I think I would choose. I will definitely not choose Zim or Squid. I don't trust them. I think I will go with Power Control, Casey, and Gallon. That's the guy I go along with. So
My crew would be Born, Viper, and Bunny.
Bunny is a scientist, so he might find a cure or something like that. Casey can just handle all the zombies with his incredible strength. Tice can be the bait, and I'll just wait around and help somehow.
Welcome back, everyone, to Hearthstone Grandmasters. We're currently in the middle of a series between Empanizado and Nalguidan. Empanizado, definitely has a little bit of breathing room if he ends up taking this loss. It's not the end of the world, but Nalguidan, if he takes the loss in this series, it's pretty close to being over. If he takes one more loss after that, puts him in that guaranteed relegation bracket and maybe at, auto relegation as well. So you can see the importance of being able to win this match as he was able to defeat that Turtle Mage. Empanizado is going to turn to his King Feoris Survival of the Fittest Druid. And it's a deck that is, seen every now and then when you venture out into ladder, but not something that you see too often in tournaments at Grandmasters. So this should be a fun one.
Yeah, it should be. Because of how expensive the deck can be without Kael'thas in it as well, it's even more important than you find ramp, because you have just more very expensive dead cards in hand if you don't. But the potential later in the game is through the roof of the deck if it finds the time to be able to play all that expensive stuff. Every single minion on board becomes a massive threat. But what better deck to deal with a lot of massive threats than Bomb Warrior, a deck that packs a ton of removal. Nalguidan is playing the risky skipper version, which is actually worse against Survival Druid than than the other versions. You do get to potentially draw cards. No, you don't. He's playing the Risky Skipper version with no Battle Rage, so never mind. Risky Skipper, the activation really doesn't touch anything that Druid's going to play, so in this matchup in particular, you'd rather have some of those additional removal tools like Coerce, which he does have one of, but every removal counts when you're talking about a deck with as many big threats as this Survival Druid. And, I mean, what more could you ask for, Dan? Look at that.
I mean, yeah, that's double ramp into the Guardian Animals.
Yep.
Do whatever you want for a turn or two, and then Survival of the Fittest. Seems good to me. Nalguidan finds the Anchor to help get the pirate draws, except he's drawn a few of his pirates already, so not exactly what he was looking for here.
Yeah, I mean, it will get the rest of his pirates out of his deck. He actually has 2 left. He has the second Sky Raider, second Risky Skipper. But it will get him closer to his Wrench Caliber, get him closer to all of his other removal tools. But this is not the start that Nalguidan wants to see. Double ramp, and I mentioned how much more important the ramp is in this deck because of just how expensive it gets. Because of that, Empanizado puts double Wild Growth, double Overgrowth to make sure that he pretty much always has ramp at some point in the early game. But this is not good for Nalguidan. He doesn't have meaningful ways to apply pressure. You don't want to like upgrade an Ankar, especially with most of the pirates drawn, to like get cutting class to be cheaper. But I mean, do you...
Wow. I mean, it is damage, right? Like the upgrade does translate to a meaningful amount of damage. Instead of 4, you have 9 through weapon swings. But yeah, it's definitely not ideal in any kind of way. Now I'm not going to play any minions, knowing the threat of the rushers. Doesn't want to actually give them anything, and maybe use Blade Storm if the Twilight Runners end up coming out. And if you're Empanizado, do you catch wind of that? And well, do you have an option to play around this at all?
It's such an awkward situation when this happens, when you have no minions to rush the guardian animals in. But I honestly feel like I've seen players get punished for not playing the guardian animals in a position like this, more so than I've seen them be punished for playing it, right? Because at the very least, you are pulling these big minions out of your deck and are forcing the removal. And Bomb Warrior doesn't necessarily play big threats or threats at this stage of the game where you absolutely want to rush your guardian animals minions in. I think that you kind of need to get these minions out of your deck and improve the overall quality of your draws. Just because, you know, if you don't play guardian animals this turn, when are you playing it?
Yeah, it's going to be increasingly trickier to play it if you're going to be, you know, trying to pressure the board. And it does, you know, if your opponent doesn't have removal, then you're in a good spot. But we know that he was aware, at least of the pirates, to potentially pick this off. Nalguidan with a full commitment to a board clear here. And I guess he can just swing again with the weapon one more time. Seems like things are okay here early on for Nalguidan.
Yeah, okay is how I describe it as well. They're not great, because he's not progressing to his own win condition very much. He has been drawing cards, yes. But not enough to where he's like got so many resources in hand that he has trouble thinking of what to do. Wrench Caliber is the big one here that he kind of needs to hit. And the later this game goes, just the more power that Empanizado is going to be able to play. One thing that I like about the Survival of the Fittest, the double Survival of the Fittest Druid, is that you can play one Survival of the Fittest early and then hold on to the second one for like Ysera Unleashed. So all of the minions in your deck are buffed, and then you get to hold on to the second one to get the minions that can't actually be in your deck, like the Dream Portals, to use the second. So it does feel like it has like more longevity because of that. Every board at a certain point becomes threatening for Nalguidan, and while he does have a lot of removal, it's not an infinite amount. he will run out of brawls, and the slower he starts getting bombs into the deck for Empanizado, the faster that removal will seem like it will disappear. So, a lot of work left to do for Nalguidan if he wants to feel comfortable in this game.
Someone's gotta lead the charge.
I mean, right now Nalguidan just is playing like a controlling style. What I worry about is that he's not actually making any progress towards his primary game plan. Like, he's not shuffling in bombs. He's not presenting a meaningful board. And it's like he's playing as if stalling will ultimately give him an ability to win the game, but it really doesn't, in my opinion. Empanizado picks up the overflow, which he can hero power down the risky skipper, and then I guess he could still trade into the risky skipper afterwards. I don't think that one health actually matters. But the overflow here is nice because then he could still dump his hand by playing the Anubisat Defender. I think he still wanted to hold on to that, though, for the survival of the fittest. So we'll see if he picks up anything else that's good.
And last time for Nalguidan, I think he did want to play that extra pirate, the extra sky pirate on board, because leaving up a minion like this can be heavily punishing. Because imagine he has Innervate, he can Innervate out survival of the fittest in that situation, and you just left this 3-1 on board that then turned into a 7-5. But he didn't quite get it off. Not a massive punish, but this 3-2 is still around. So, we have yet to see whether or not he will get punished for not playing them.
Well, the survival's not coming out this turn. It is Nature Studies. Looks for Soul of the Forest. Sticky spell against a class that's difficult time trying to clear things like Soul of the Forest.
It's a big pickup. Because now Nalguidan, if Empanizado goes for a big board and Soul of the Forest, it means he has to deal with both waves, or he's still under threat of the survival of the fittest.
I mean, this is Nalguidan setting up, but has he taken a little bit too long? I mean, this first survival is looking very strong. But this one's manageable. It's all about the waves coming afterwards, right? This one's completely manageable. It's not the end of the world.
Yep, Blade Storm, and then I guess start swinging with Wrench Caliber.
Yeah, it's not clean with his mana usage is what is kind of unfortunate about it, but I think he doesn't have too many choices here if he wants to play Wrench Caliber this turn, so I like that. I think that cards like Brawl get better with all these Sky Raiders in hand, so I am okay holding that. I don't know if we want to draw any cards here this turn, because I think it doesn't leave us enough mana flexibility to be able to use like this Wrench Caliber, for example.
I am unbreakable, but time is fleeting. Maybe.
He keeps mousing over the Horde Pillager, which is... I don't know why. I get maybe he's counting, like, what does he do if he swings this turn and then swings next turn? Hand size also an issue. Like you mentioned, whether or not to play Sky Pirate, so there is a good amount to think about this turn, but... drawn immediately.
Well, he doesn't have Blastmaster Boom, so it's not a super big deal right now. Empanizado can just play 2 5-drops here. I guess he only has both of the Twilight Runners.
Yeah, that's good.
What to do?
Both Blade Storms are gone.
Right. I'm thinking about if they're, in his mind, he feels like he doesn't want to commit both in case he loses, say, a Brawl.
Yeah, maybe he can hold on to one for Broomstick to try and get immediate draw if he feels like he needs that. Is it worth just playing one, though? Like, if he plays 2, he has 18 power on board with maximum potential power being 26, which does not set up for a lethal. But yeah, Nalguidan, I'm doubling down on this. I'm going Sky Pirate and Brawl. I really don't want one of these to survive.
Sure.
He still has mana to hero power after that. Maybe he wants to. Oh, is he gonna go? He's going all in.
wow.
All right, throw the armors within there as
Okay.
well.
All right. I was kind of anticipating a cutting class hero power here or something like that, but looks like one of the Twilight Runners survived, throwing everything and the kitchen sink at these Tigers, and it did not pay off. I mean, he really wanted to manipulate odds in his favor, but bumping it from 50% to 60% was kind of marginal relative to the amount of gain that you can have through, I guess, squeezing out more damage or drawing more cards or just doing something.
Yeah.
Right now, he invested 2 mana for a 10% increase, and I didn't really do anything here.
Or even like the amount of increase you get by holding on to one of those minions for the second brawl.
Oh yeah,
Right?
that's another good point.
Like you go from
I don't
0%
know,
for one of
TJ.
your minions to survive to where if there's 4 minions on board, a 20%. So that's a 20% increase, right? So, like not even maximizing odds that turn, but maximizing odds for turns in the future. And with one brawl gone, King Feoris in hand. This is enticing. He's seen both Blade Storms. He's seen one brawl. Is second brawl likely? How much do you want to go in here?
TJ, what if it's King Feoris, Lightning Bloom, Soul of the Forest? But the
Oh,
thing
wait.
is, he's good.
Does that set up for guaranteed lethal?
I think it actually might because of all those treants that come out. And
So you'd have 7 treants. He could kill off 1.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
And then you'd have 12 power plus 20. Oh yeah, you do that. Oh yeah, you do that. Yes, yes, yes.
Our power is in our
Did he do it?
No, he
didn't do it!
He didn't do it. Yeah. I like that play a lot better, but I think this still is very threatening. Because, like, Nalguidan, unless he hits and nails that Death Imp as the winner of the brawl, he's in a tough spot either way.
What did he lightning bloom?
He
What did he
played
use?
Crystal Power, and then Lightning Bloom. And then
Crystal Power and then
he
lightning
played
bloom
his
to get the Feoris out.
Yeah.
I
think
wonder
because he
why
didn't
he
want.
wouldn't lightning bloom Soul the Forest there.
I think because he wanted to guarantee a 10 drop. I think if he like Feoris, he didn't have enough board space to guarantee that he would have it, so he dumped his 2 cheaper spells first.
Yeah, but if you play Soul of the Forest, like what does Nalguidan do? Like what removal could he possibly have that would play around that? It would have to be Lord Barov. And then you still have the Soul of the Forest. Like getting a 10 drop doesn't play around Lord Barov, where Soul of the Forest plays around Lord Barov. And wow, that's the worst outcome twice in a row for Nalguidan. And that's game.
And GG, Lightning Bloom. Into the
GG.
survival of the fittest. And Empanizado ties up the series.
But I will return.
Nalguidan shaking the head, unhappy with his brawl outcomes. You know, and we can talk about these optimization points, right? Like we know the hands, and therefore we knew that the Soul of the Forest play was probably better, right? Like it's actually 100% better. But like we know the information, so Empanizado of course does not. Therefore, he's extending and hedging halfway and trying to play out to the board. So we can argue it for a while. Either way, though, Nalguidan losing all those brawls, Empanizado having all those threats, Nalguidan not threatening. I think he shuffled, what, 1 bomb into Empanizado's deck the entire game? It's not going to do anything when it comes down to that.
So it might not. It's only, I think, fringe better because the play that we had suggested makes it not better, right? Because if you double Lightning Bloom Soul of the Forest, you can't play the
survival
survival of the fittest the following turn. But there's just not really a way outside of Brawl into Deathwing Mad Aspect that lets you not lethal him over 2 turns in that scenario. So I think it's similar either way, whether he goes for Soul of the Forest or whether he doesn't go for Soul of the Forest. And actually not going both Lightning Blooms means he does open up the opportunity to survive the fittest the following turn, or go for your Sarah Unleashed the following turn, regardless of whatever the outcome is. So because he can't follow up with Survival of the Fittest if he plays double Lightning Bloom, I won't fault him for not going for the Soul of the Forest there. So we'll just call that even Stevens.
Okay, fair enough, TJ. I think you had me convinced, but it looks like TJ is backtracking just a little bit.
I am.
He doesn't want to evoke the wrath of Empanizado fans. Either way, he was in a really good spot, right? I think the point that we're trying to make was that he was in a good spot. His macro line was still very much fine, and he also is rewarded, right, with building a deck that can threaten things like Bomb Warrior. We're gonna go to Demon Hunter versus Bomb Warrior and see if this could be the deck that puts Empanizado in the lead going into this game number 3. A very crucial game here. Nalguidan's Bomb Warrior is not really fired off at all, but last game felt a little bit awkward. Just several things just not going right. Of course, your cash not really landing on the target he wants. The brawl is kind of missing. But we'll see if game number 3 will have any difference here. Nalguidan keeping the Revenge Caliber. Empanizado thinking about if he wants to keep this skull in the outcast position. Is it a little too greedy, you think, TJ?
Against Bomb Warrior? I'd be lying if I said I hadn't done it before. But I think it might be a little too greedy yet. If the rest of his hand was perfect, yes, sure. Do it. But the rest of his hand was not perfect. He ended up mulliganing a lot away. So I think that is a little too greedy. But you're kind of getting another glimpse at Empanizado's overall strategy going into this week with another Frozen Shadow Weaver, this time in the Soul Demon Hunter. We talked about how his strategy looked like it was to corner Soul Demon Hunters on the other side. And Frozen Shadow Weaver is a fantastic way to get an edge in the mirror. Because the mirror can be incredibly close, and one turn of not being able to attack is oftentimes all it takes to win a mirror matchup. So another little added bonus on top for Empanizado in the series, if it comes down to Soul Demon Hunter. But gotta get there first. Bomb Warrior is not a guaranteed matchup. This one can be close. Both players are trying to do the same thing. Honestly, they're quite similar, where they both have these board-wide removals and are trying to go over the top and hit you in the face. It's just Demon Hunter is just more front-loaded damage, whereas Bomb Warrior is just more delayed, wait for the bombs to draw damage.
Yeah, the Bomb Warrior just pretty much throws its hero into the opponent. So when you say it's similar to Demon Hunter, I think you hit the nail on the head. So then, from Empanizado's perspective, this Frozen Shadow Weaver tech, kind of nice just to help stall and delay Nalguidan's ideal turn 4. Also, just gives him an opportunity to establish tempo on his side and maybe get ahead on board.
I'll show you who's boss.
Wow, Nalguidan going for risky skipper and shield slam.
He's
opening himself up to potential AoE, but with no soul fragments really being available here. Or rather, he doesn't have the Mystic, but he would also have to have a card that would enable him to play that Mystic Battlecry and get that activation.
Yeah. And also just it gains the armor. Even if you play the Shard Mystic here, it's still a bunch more armor gain on, which opens him up to have the ability to take a little bit more damage as this game progresses. Because Demon Hunter really won't, oftentimes, unless it comes down to a Sociologist Militia, they won't actually win by board, right? They're going to win by face damage, so just getting the armor gain out of the way early, so that way your plays in the future are more opened up to not have to do with the board, instead try and progress your own win condition. And it's a nice benefit to get out of the way early. I like it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Consume magic off the top to get that outcast draw. I don't know if it's good enough. Don't know if that's good enough. Empanizado going with the double shuffle of the Soul Fragments with 6 in the deck. That's a full board for the Sociologist Militia. I mean, you kind of anticipated to get dealt with. Warrior has Brawl, they have Blade Storm. They have a lot of ways that they can disarm this.
But it forces them to do it. Also outcasts the Skull. So next turn is almost certainly Sociologist Militia, even if there's not much to attack into. Which, hey,
I like it.
There is much to attack into.
Yeah, and Dr. Krasnov getting that extra bomb shovel. This is looking good for Nalguidan so far.
Yep.
The bombs really make Skull of Gul'dan a little bit of a scarier proposition because of the same reasons of Soul Fragment, except you have a downside of you take 5 damage instead of healing. Nalguidan, when you see your opponent hold the coin for this long as Soul Demon Hunter, you kind of anticipate it. There's so many shuffles prior to your opponent playing the Sociologist Militia. So not a lot of surprise there. This is a board you have to brawl. I don't think you can afford to leave it up here.
Do you want to hedge again?
Throw in the Sky Raider.
Still in a Sky Raider.
I mean, it's a significant win if he does do that, right? Then he can just go face with the bomb or the weapon instead.
Ooh, Hench Clan Burglar. Interesting.
I like that card. Almost won.
Average outcome there with one of the 3/3s.
I guess the thing that I like about the Sky Raider was the investment into the future mana turn. So like, yeah, he missed an armor up, but he also has like the full mana to play, say, the Henchland Burglar and the Horde Pillager now because he invested the Sky Raider beforehand.
Alas, poor warlock.
Wow.
Jeez.
I guess he did have a
good
lot
timing.
of Soul Fragments, but
yeah. I guess good timing in the sense that he didn't draw it right before Sociologist Militia. Bad timing. Oh, wow. That mana burn ended up being so clutch.
oh, that's rough. 'Cause that would have been just insane.
Yeah,
because
you know,
he
good.
did have maximum bombs in deck.
What more can I ask for?
Really good move by Empanizado. I think a lot of players may have autopiloted and just like hero powered there to push that 1 damage. But
Yeah,
Empanizado
like
recognizing
damage.
that he did have an opportunity to make mana burn potentially really disruptive. It's a
Yeah.
small play. Maybe not Derek Brown top 5 play worthy by itself. It might crack it. But little cute plays like that do end up making a difference.
Yeah. And Empanizado was in it last week. And we had a lot of good candidates this week from Americas. So I won't send him a message. All right.
Well,
so
Nalguidan, instead of playing Dr. Boom or Blastmaster Boom, quite possibly the most powerful card, singular card in this deck, ends up just playing Horde Pillager. And you tell me if that mana burn was good or not.
fantastic.
Grows short.
Oh, get Aldraki Warblades online. I wonder if he wants to cash in on anything else here. It's just going to use a Blade Dance. I think this is okay, just because there really isn't that many minions, and he has a second Blade Dance to fall back on if Nalguidan were to play something large next turn. Which he's going to play something large. Just saw a Blade Dance. There is an Aldraki Warblades available to Empanizado. Or equipped, rather. So maybe he heals back up some of the damage that the bombs dealt, but it's just the most powerful play he can make. not much else going on in his hand. So now there are 4 bombs in deck.
Jeez. Okay. What's the best way to go about this here?
Demons?
If you... Okay, I think you can get away with swinging here and re-equipping the Draki Warblade. I think moving that Skull Gul'dan to outcast position is important. So we can first use that second slice. Yeah. Then use Consume Magic, maybe?
Is he... Okay. I was like, is he going to try and just push everything here instead of for a 2-turn lethal or something? And not kill the bombs?
I think it's a legitimate strategy here.
So he'd play the Soul Shard Lapidary this turn. How much... Okay, he's going to cash out Blade Dance first, try and take the bomb damage. And hit, go back up to 30, puts it down to 13. I don't know. Now you can't deal with a 7/7. Both Blade Dances are gone. There are now going to be 5 bombs in deck once Nalguidan swings this turn, which he very, very likely will. And net some damage from one of these boombots on the Soul Shard Lapidary. Even cash in on immediate damage if he wants to.
Yeah, he had a 43% chance. I don't know, something like that to hit that last Astral Boom, but I feel like the punish on the opposite side is really high.
Yeah.
For not being able to land it. Oh my goodness. Nalguidan has Powered Feast. I was thinking about it because you could trade, but I forgot that the Social Lapidary already has 1 health, so you can just use Boom Bots and just push that damage instead.
Yeah, Powered Feast is just the only thing in that group of stuff that deals damage, so might as well.
Right, and now you're staring at 2-turn lethal yourself. It's a race to finish, not to mention bombs being drawn off the top.
Yep.
Could really ruin Empanizado's game plan.
I think. Okay, so if he goes Aldraki Warblade's Twin Slice, Glaive Bound. He heals for 6 and pushes 10. And there is 16 damage on the other side, possibly more if this Boobot, if he can get this Boobot to go face.
Demons. Demons.
I don't think you can skull this turn because you're very likely to draw a bomb or 2. I think you just kind of have to go for it. I don't even know what he's trying to pick up with the skull, to be completely honest.
Okay, well, I mean, the bombs bring it really close. Empanizado needs to find ways to heal. Oh, he draws another bomb. And that's going to do it. Nalguidan wins 3. Game number 3, and now is up 2-1 in the overall series score. Bomb Warrior able to really put the pressure on. It does feel like that pivotal turn where there was Dr. Boom on the board and he didn't find a way to deal with it, did end up ultimately deciding like who was going to win that race. So if you look back at that turn, you have to think, was that the best chance for Empanizado to win the game? If he, maybe he actually ended up sticking to the right line and like that was his best odds to win, even if it was not necessarily a favored position to be in. So, you can't really necessarily look at that specific micro situation and think, okay, that was what lost Empanizado out of the game. I mean, you can if you want to be results-oriented thinking, but maybe that was his best chance because it was not looking really good. The draw from Nalguidan looked much cleaner this game, and it seemed like he was very, very good about setting up his bombs, and Empanizado was kind of struggling to really get any momentum going.
Yeah, you can see where that double Armorsmith Risky Skipper in the early game came into play because it forced now Empanizado in a situation where he couldn't really race at all. Whereas he stuck a good amount of damage over the last couple of turns of that game. But now it's down to the Demon Hunter for Nalguidan, but this is the most worrisome deck for Nalguidan against the lineup from Empanizado. Empanizado has a Soul Demon Hunter that's better in the mirror matchup because he's playing double Frozen Shadow Weaver in his list. So Empanizado has made his list just straight up better in a mirror, and then his final deck is the Turtle Mage, which also has a Frozen Shadow Weaver and double Acidic Swamp Ooze thrown in, which I'm not sure if that's particularly enough to put it over the edge against Soul Demon Hunter, which I've been liking against Turtle Mage just because they are consistent with their pressure, and Turtle Mage is very inconsistent with their own game plan. So we'll see. We shall see.
Yeah, that's right. The Demon Hunter here from Nalguidan, we might see some explosive potential that we've been kind of hyping up for a little bit of time here with Demon Hunter. Many are calling it the best deck in the metagame right now, and you do see that there's a little bit of inconsistency, though, right? Like the dynamic of Soul Fragments and Skull Gul'dan sometimes creates very wide range of what Demon Hunter can be doing, and sometimes doing nothing. But, let's look into this mirror a little bit closer and see these opening hands. Nalguidan has nothing really that solid. Ends up keeping the Warblades. Empanizado with the full mulligan. Usually I'm trying to find an opportunity to play something a little bit proactive. The Spirit Jailer, the Wand Makers. Nalguidan opting in for the Warblades, finding that it's going to be really important to have that lifesteal ability. I guess when you're going second, it does make you feel like you have to be more reactive. Things like that.
Yeah. You generally do, though maybe not as pronounced in this matchup, because there are just kind of a lack of minions, especially earlier on. Early turns are really just setup turns. All right. Another setup turn, Wand Maker. Nalguidan already holy moly. Okay.
More slices is always good. Slice
20
is
damage
nice.
in hand over many turns, but just 20 raw damage.
Is it cold in the shadows?
Okay, tempo, Frozen Shadow Weaver. This is just a net damage because pretty much every way that Demon Hunter uses to get back on board is through weapons. And with nothing equipped, Nalguidan would have to have Blade Dance plus Weighted Buff. So it looks like he is just going to equip the Eldrazi Warblades, try and negate the damage that this Frozen Shadow Weaver would do.
Whew. This feels like a Tempo Demon Hunter matchup, right?
I know.
The Frozen Shadow Weaver on 3. Into Empanizado setting up for a Gladebound Adept. Instead of, say, playing a 2-mana weapon, summoning a little small minion, just setting up a 4-mana weapon and trying to push a lot of damage.
Do like the Marrow Slicer here over the Cane, just because it allows Empanizado to have the ability to play Gladebound Adept next turn, which could be important. Important maybe even just to put an additional threat on the board and start putting damage, because he does seem to be the proactive player currently in the matchup. But seeing how Eldrazi Warblades just equipped like that doesn't really incentivize you to go super heavy on damage. You still need to care about the board, because the last thing you want to have happen is to kind of go all in, and then the Eldrazi Warblades let your opponent not only heal the damage back up, but also utilize Blade Dance and Shard Mystic to also take the board themselves. So doesn't swing with the Marrow Slicer, wants to make sure that he has a bunch of different ways to use these charges of the Marrow Slicer.
Yeah, but now we kind of start the Gladebound Adept Wars. It truly is April of 2020 again, TJ. Oh yeah, Frozen Shadow Weaver on 3. set up the Glaive-bound Adept into the Glaive-bound Adept, only countered by your opponent's Glaive-bound Adept.
Where are the Warblades of Azanoth?
That's right.
Where's the Battle Fiends? Where's the Satyr Overseers?
That's right. Where's my Altruist? Oh, wait. Some people are playing that.
Yeah, Penflinger version. It's great. So we'll see exactly how much Nalguidan wants to use these to cash in on some healing. He wants to use a Twin Slice here, or just a hero power to just be efficient with his cards. Being efficient with your cards is not necessarily the way you win this matchup, just because sometimes you just run out of time. Like sometimes your opponent just has the damage and you regret outspending that mana earlier, especially with Eldrazi Warblades and banking it. So I do like here that Nalguidan's saying, okay, I'm going to expend a slice just to net 2 extra healing, because maybe I don't have the mana to do that in the future. Or at least don't have the Eldrazi Warblade equipped, so that 1 extra healing that I get from Twin Slicing instead of Hero Powering might be the difference maker in the overall matchup.
Yeah, value is not nearly as important sometimes in this matchup as tempo is.
I grow impatient.
Speaking of tempo, Empanizado picks up the other Glaive-bound Adept. Your opponent just demonstrated a difficulty of trying to deal with the Glaive-bound, even trading their own life total to try and kill that Glaive-bound. Empanizado's going to go for this instead to try to set up for a very nice clean turn 7 with Consume Magic and Skull Gul'dan. Trying to get that Skull into an outcast position. Totally reasonable. Nalguidan just feels very far behind.
Yeah, well, he
doesn't have any Soul Fragment set up right now. 0. In a position that
when you're having to constantly react like this, it just does not bode well for you in the series unless you plan on picking up a bunch of these Soul Fragments immediately. Has to just play a 2-3 here for tempo, essentially. Not getting the value from the Mana Feeder Panthera. Alright, so draw a second Frozen Shadow Weaver, which means
I grow impatient.
Empanizado has like the killing blow ready and lined up. His Frozen Shadow Weaver will essentially lock Nalguidan out from the majority of his ability to heal back up or try and make it come back. So I think he does have to think pretty hard about this, just because is this the time for Frozen Shadow Weaver and then you go for a killing blow? Do you want to use Consume Magic on essentially nothing here? I don't really think there's many silence targets in the deck, or any. And then try and outcast the Skull, or do you just go for Glaive-bound Adept by itself? Like, he still could have gone, yeah, okay, he is going to dump the Magic.
Our enemies will fall.
Yeah, and I think that the Glaive-bound Adept here makes the most sense. You're so close to killing your opponent. Nalguidan, if he plays a Sociologist Militia like he kind of was setting up to do, he's going to trade in 2 of his minions and not really have a significant amount of power to really push the envelope here. I think he's got to do a little bit more. I think he's going to set up this Cane and maybe counter push. Say, if you got 5 damage, you got me. Empanizado has none. He's got only 1 through the hero power.
Job done.
Small ray of hope here for Nalguidan.
But he's got Skull.
Got Skull.
Oh, there it is.
Potentially go disastrously, and there is that 5 damage. Soul Shard Lapidary off the top, and Empanizado's going to tie it up and send it up to game number 5. And put it down to the last decks here, as Empanizado is able to get the win. Nice important win in the Demon Hunter Mirror. Although Turtle Mage still is a liability right now here, given that we don't really know if Turtle Mage can withstand the pressure of Demon Hunter. But Empanizado certainly has teched his deck to do so, right? That's what Frozen Shadow Weavers and the Acidic Swampoos. These are helpful cards to try and slow down the Demon Hunter, maybe just long enough for him to be able to get his Tortola Pilgrim combos up.
Yeah, I do think this is a decent matchup for Turtle Mage in the grand scheme of things, just because they have so many ways to block damage, so many ways to heal damage back up. And the Frozen Shadow Weaver does buy time. It's just, we've seen kind of that built-in failure rate for Turtle Mage become so apparent over the matches that we've seen recently. Not only here in Americas, but also looking at some of the matches that have happened over the weekend in Europe with Turtle Mage players is sometimes you just don't draw those combo pieces, which just makes the deck look like a bad control mage, honestly, or in some instances, a bad tempo mage. And when that happens, you know, it makes the deck look really bad. Like in the first game of the series, Empanizado just did a whole lot of nothing for an entire game against Survival Druid. But, you know, for each game that you have that, you have those games where you just completely lock your opponent out from doing anything. You have the tempo tools early, you draw into the Tortollan Pilgrim, potions are nice and tucked away into the bottom of your deck to be able to use with those Tortollan Pilgrims. So, good. I think a good, decent opening. I wouldn't say good opening for Empanizado, but a decent one. He's got Wand Maker to try and fight the board early. He's got Acidic Swamp Boost to deal with the first weapon that comes out. Cardtooth Defender to heal up the early game damage that he's certain to take. So, and Tortollan Pilgrim drawn. So now he's just a Frozen Shadow Weaver away from a permanent lockout for Nalguidan's ability to win the game, as long as he gets to those pesky 10 mana crystals.
Yeah, it's going to be really key to be able to get to that stalling point. Tortollan Pilgrim is probably a nice sight to behold. Ooh, Doomsayer on 2.
Wow.
That is really nice for Empanizado. Nalguidan.
I mean, that's the drawback to the play he made, right? He coined out the Mana Feeder Panthera because he saw 2 keeps, and you're oftentimes keeping Wand Maker, Astromancer, Solarian, Acidic Swamp Boost. You want to get those minions out early and start pushing the damage early to put pressure on the Turtle Mage. But Doomsayer is the punish for that. And now, because he went for like Mana Feeder Panthera instead of Wand Maker, it means he doesn't have the additional card draw, so he might be starved for resources. And Empanizado is ripping card for card off the top. Some of the best early game fighting tools in his deck with Doomsayer into Imprisoned Observer. If Nalguidan just kind of, you know, I was going to say if he plays like how Draki Warblades here just to set it up and get the mana expenditure out of the way, he's going to be heavily punished by the Acidic Swamp Boost, but he's going to go for some minion pressure here instead. Maybe try and bank on these minions a little bit before he has to worry about the Imprisoned Observer popping out. Get 1 turn of damage rolling.
You don't pick the ones, see?
Yep, Empanizado going for the Wand Maker, finds Tome of Intellect. So turn 4, pretty chill. Just waiting for that Imprisoned Observer to really sweep up a bunch of things. I wonder if Nalguidan wants to play Magtheridon on curve here.
Pressure with the about like early, they already get damaged. He has both Shard Shadow Mystics in hand, so he can kill it off next turn. And honestly, like really early big minions is one of the ways that Mage can struggle. Like you're gonna force him to have a freeze almost every turn. You saw Doomsayer, so he also has a Consume Magic, right? So even if a freeze comes out, Consume Magic will be able to kind of bail him out of that situation. So yeah, I'm going for this. Now there is a punish to this, Dan. There's a Tome of Intellect in hand. There's 4 mana remaining after the Tome of Intellect.
Ooh, baby. Oh my goodness. It have more Wardens. Look at that. TJ, you can have a hand of Wardens. But yeah, the Tome of Intellect into Polymorph would be pretty nasty. Not to mention just like Tome of Intellect into like Devolving Missiles, right? Like stops Nalguidan's aggression anyways. There's actually a lot of hits.
Well, Tome of Aggression to Polymorph allows him to Polymorph his Warder this turn and make it so that Nalguidan never even gets a Magtheridon.
Right, and I guess I'm just saying, like, if he has other hits with the Tome of Intellect as well, right? Like, the Devolving Missiles will stop Magtheridon from being relevant because they go from a 12-12 down to, like a 1-1 or a 1-2.
Time runs out on me.
Counterspell, okay.
It's something.
Yeah, the
Alright, time to get a
Mystic
12-12
here is the
rolling.
setup. Yeah, I like it, and I think that it is important here for Nalguidan to find a way to pressure. He's going to test first for Counterspell. It's a little bit sad. I think if you want to test for Counterspell, maybe you can Consume Magic, but maybe he wants you to get past the Card 2 Defender. Yeah, that's actually almost certainly what he's thinking. That Consume Magic on the Card 2 Defender would be worth way more than 4 damage.
Yeah. Or like Consume Magic on Doomsayer if Empanizado goes Frost Nova Doomsayer, right? So there's a lot of different uses for Consume Magic. Yeah, so Consume Magic this, push 12, even more so. And you can even get the card draw from it because you can play Eldrazi Warblades, Silence. And Empanizado's running on borrowed time right now. Limited amount of freezes. He's going to be at 4 or 5. 5 life!
Okay. Hard to stabilize at 5 life against Demon Hunter that has the ability to push 4 to 5 damage from the hand
6
with
life,
just 1 card.
Thought he could weave in Hero Power. Does he want to kill it though and play around potential potion? Ooh. Empanizado
might be able to punish here.
You can go like Ooze, Potion of Illusion, Card 2 Defender, but there's not enough healing from the Card 2 Defender if Nalguidan has a way to get through the 1/1 Card 2 Defender to block Nalguidan, because it would still be he'd still be at 12, which would be perfect. I don't know if there's a way for him to survive here.
Frost Nova Ooze? Frost Nova Ooze Sphere.
Yeah.
That
might take the risk though and go for Posh. I don't know. You can. It never lives. I guess he's gonna do it. So if you go for this, you can next turn you can Frost Nova, and you get the Ooze back as well. But Nalguidan does have the answer to this. Hero Power attack, Blade Dance attack for 12. Nalguidan gets the Demon Hunter through. Or Kane! Just Kane him!
Very nice from Nalguidan, and that's going to wrap up the series. Nalguidan gets breath of fresh air here, wins series number 5, and improves to a 2-3 record, tying Empanizado. It is very close here in Grandmasters. A lot of the standings are very contested from spots 2 to 6, and now we get to see yet another tie be made in that standings. So job well done to Nalguidan. His dream stays alive. For Empanizado, it's also starting to become a little worrisome too. You don't want to lose your next matches. This is starting to get very, very tight.
Yeah, and you have to question like the bring up Turtle Mage if your goal is to hard target Soul Demon Hunter, or if that's one of your goals in your lineup, because the rest of you're making kind of your lineup weaker against a lot of other things by including Frozen Shadow Weavers in a lot of your decks in order to try and corner it. But is there a deck that's better against Soul Demon Hunter than a Turtle Mage with a Frozen Shadow Weaver thrown in? That's kind of the question you have to ask, right? Is there another deck that's more consistent? Maybe not. Maybe that is the deck. It's just, that Turtle Mage just couldn't get the job done today. But, that's what Empanizado has to kind of go back into thinking for next week if he wants to try a similar strategy. Was Turtle Mage the bring? Because that did feel like the weak point in his lineup.
Yeah, or at least if it was the bring, was it the bring with the kind of list that he chose to do, right? And so we can debate about